Vols are back.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh!
I love it, baby!
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! By Tennessee to one Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back to Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello, win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now.
I made up my mind. I don't expect to ever look back. I'm going to stay at the University of Tennessee.
Reddit to do, and welcome into More Important Issues. It is Sunday, January 8th. It has been a good weekend on Rocky Top. Good day and good weekend in sports. NFL's been a ton of fun. I just clinched another fantasy championship. That is 2 this year. I know you guys want to hear about that, so I'm gonna brag. No big deal.
Yeah, same here. Lost one tragically, but we got the other one in the bag today.
The most embarrassing part is this league that I won today was auto draft.
That's the worst.
I just don't think I need to draft anymore. Just don't overthink it. Let the computer do it. You're gonna have to make changes anyways, and just roll with it. So that's my new plan.
That's second worst to losing your bracket to like the person that just picked based off the mascots or the colors or has zero clue about college basketball. Just like,
yeah, it's definitely embarrassing. So yeah, but I'm an idiot, so I'm not scared to admit it. Thankfully, I just tweeted it. I mean, seriously, as far as being a volunteer goes, nothing will make up for what happened in Columbia in November. But Tennessee basketball tried their best to do so, and I appreciate that and love that for them. That team just becomes more and more lovable every game.
yeah, no, I mean, like you said, obviously, you can't really. It's going to take quite a few of those games to wipe away what happened in football. But if there was a way to do it, they went there and took care of business. They made them look pretty bad. They doubled their score, 42.
Yeah.
84. Yeah, they more than doubled the score. So if there's a way to do it, they definitely went and tried last night. So,
and like I said, absolutely love that for them. We'll talk about Tennessee basketball though. Transfer portal has, if you're listening to this tomorrow, ended. About to end for those of us on Sunday night. The commitment announcements got a few rolling in on Monday, so we'll talk about who that could be. And then we've got my rest of my way. I know we're talking college basketball. And then if you got some questions, drop them in. We've already gotten some in, so we'll answer those along with our most importance for the week. Before we do get into the entirety of the show, I want to give a shout out to our good friends at Underdog. Underdog is Knoxville's best sports collectible store. They have a wide selection of UT cards, autographs, and memorabilia. Whether you're looking for a Peyton Manning autograph helmet or the most recent Topps baseball card release, you'll find it at Underdog. The shop is owned by UT graduates and proudly supports UT sports by hosting NIL events throughout the year. This Saturday, January 14th, Maui Ahuna is going to be at Underdog. Stop by, $9, pay online, go before the Tennessee-Kentucky game. That's what we'll be doing. We'll be hanging out at Underdog. So make sure you guys go get in on that, get your autograph from Maui Ahuna, meet him, all for the good price of $9. Stop by University Commons Shopping Center next to Publix, Domino's to check them out. Open 6 days a week with the live YouTube shows 3 nights per week. Remember, always bet on the Underdog. Make sure you guys head out there. Really appreciate them. Hoping to get back there. That's the plan. Love getting to sit down with Chase Dolander and Christian Moore. So love to get to just do some more of that and appreciate Underdog.
yeah, take advantage of that. These guys are all going to probably go pro and do pretty well. So get it while you can. Get it while they're in Tennessee and
good autographs and cool baseball cards too.
Yep.
That I imagine though, I don't know the details, all of that. So this is probably bad, but I know they had some for Christian Moore and Chase Dolander. So I'm sure those will be available for purchase as well. Let's jump right into Tennessee basketball because it's what domination truly looks like. That's the best. That's the easiest descriptor of it. Just shot really, really well from the field from the get-go. And I hope that's not the only way Tennessee can win. But they've been able to do it in the last 2 SEC games, just jump out in front and never let go. And it's not a bad way to win. I just hope that means we can play close games early or from behind early. Like that's my only critique from the game, if you can call it that, is the nervousness of I want to see us win from behind now, which I guess we did with Ole Miss. So maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they could play to that, obviously South Carolina is not the most,
They might be the worst in the SEC this year.
Yeah,
they
they're
did
definitely
lose to
not
Vandy.
the highly touted basketball team of the SEC or really anywhere else in the country. But these are, granted, still really good basketball players. So if they can play like they did last night and not only obviously already keep up their defense, which has been proven to be really good all season, one of the best in college basketball, and hope to just get better. But if they can keep doing offensive games like that and have performances like that, pass the ball around, make sure everyone's getting fed.
Right.
I feel pretty good. I know we were talking about a month ago about how we felt, and obviously that early Colorado loss and everything kind of left us standing not really sure where, but I feel like we've steadily improved since then, and you can kind of tell the team starting to kind of mold together and getting everybody figured out what's going on.
Yeah. And I think that's Colorado's probably, which I mean, Colorado was just obviously a poor shooting night, but offense just didn't look as fast as quick. Like it showed you what this team can be, and like it can create those just ugly basketball games because, like you said, that defense is always just going to be nasty. But you also talked about South Carolina having some good basketball players. Gigi Jackson, Landon says this stats. I'll read off some more stats as we go through that Landon wants to be noted on the show. But yeah, Gigi Jackson averaging 17 points per game and 0 against Tennessee. So struggling to do what they do best. They did have a guard, Michi Johnson, go for 19. And so someone did get theirs that day, but they just struggled as a team, shooting, 15% from 3, 20%, 25%, from the field. The Vols defense just they're going to outshine a lot of teams because if you don't have a dialed up shooter or if you don't have a big that can play, which I think it's going to be more and more difficult to do with how well, really all 4 of Tennessee's bigs in that rotation are playing. The next stat Landon wants me to make sure I read off, I imagine, is Olivier Kumwa being perfect from the field in 2023, which is just, it's a hilarious stat. We're 8 days in, we're 2 games in, and he's
right.
Perfect. It's hilarious that's real. And dude's proved me wrong. I have my doubts about him. I thought we needed to go to a lot more of Adu and maybe even a lot more of a Walker, but I think it's proven that maybe that lineup battle is more difficult than it seems.
Yeah, like we talked about it before, it's well-rounded, and this isn't really the first time we've kind of been in this position talking about them, within the past handful of seasons, but we obviously worried about, when you lose talent and you got people that are going to step up and stuff and trying to get as well-rounded of a team, but it's been good to see them connect as well as it is to see people like Adu to fit right into that mixture and, find his place on that team and kind of, even out everybody else, because it does seem like something we run into every year trying to figure out who's going to replace what part and, what Rick Barnes is going to do in that set. But last night was probably about as good as you can look, given the circumstances. And I hope that, we can head forward with that.
Yeah, that's Tennessee definitely has still some their biggest games are ahead of them. I don't know if it's tough to win in this league. So I do think right now it looks like the 2 kind of clear-cut favorites are Alabama and Tennessee, but it's honestly just too early to tell in the SEC. You're 3 games in. Missouri is a looks like every bit of a good basketball team, but they've still had their moments where they haven't looked good. Arkansas is a good basketball team. I know they've struggled with injury lately, so I don't know where they'll be at the end of the year. Like there still are a bunch of questions in the SEC. It's still very much a long season, but and it's going to be hard to play, like you said, more perfect than yesterday. That was a freaking performance, and you gotta love Zakai Ziegler, dude. He's still. I can't decide who. I think he would be more important than Josiah Jordan-James, and we missed a lot when he was down.
Yeah. Well, and last night he obviously didn't have the most productive night in a sense of points and stuff, but he's kind of one of those players that just always has his presence felt, and he's always making some sort of effect and key importance on the game. So him being able to fit into that spot, and even games like that being able to make a big difference and still walk away with 8 assists and 3 rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds. Like that's something that's always going to be able to help there.
And I think too, his biggest thing, and this is where we've lacked with our bigs, and I know he's not a true forward or definitely not a guy that plays in that 5 spot, but can guard all positions. He's so physical, and I feel like we've just missed that the last few years. Finally, Plavsic has always been physical. It's just, can he do it in the right way? But he's doing it in the right way now. Kumwas looks more physical, and then you've got Toby Awaka, who he knows how to use his physicality better than Urosh, but like that's his game, is go in there and bang around, and that's where Tennessee's, I think, missed the most the last few years in terms of bigs. And but Jonas Adu, it has looked like that. He's carved out a nice role for him. I don't know if it grows anymore, but he's definitely carved out a nice role so far, and he's impacting the games and in massive ways. I've got to imagine it definitely was Saturday, but on the season, his plus minus has got to be incredible.
Yeah. And after the game last night, Olivier said that someone mentioned something about it being a near perfect game, and he said that it was like anything near perfect or something. So obviously everyone's always going to have a high standard to keep, but it's good to hear that Olivier is, along with I'm sure the rest of the team and Coach Barnes, don't see any ceiling anywhere nearby. They just going to keep the foot on the gas pedal and hopefully just keep building on top of what they already have.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching that game, and then you watch Tennessee kind of undress Mississippi State in a similar way on Tuesday night, and I'm thinking, I hope the Vols have not. This is the cynical in me. I think, I hope the Vols haven't peaked on January 8th. Like that's right. The good news is that you definitely turn around. Not that Vanderbilt may or may not give you a game. You're certainly a better team on paper, and with the way you've done the last 2 SEC opponents, it could be a routing very easily. It is in Thompson Bowling Arena. It is a late tip. I mean, that definitely could get interesting. But then you also turn around and play Kentucky, who played terrible against Alabama. But I thought they looked pretty good against LSU on Tuesday night. And so plenty of basketball, not just in the future, but in the immediate future too. When do students get back to campus? Are you back?
No, I'll be back like the 12th, but a lot of people, classes are going to start till I think the 23rd.
Right.
So
It's
going to be one of those, like the older people might be there. And obviously
I hope Kentucky somehow gets students in the the You said you'll be back the 12th. Okay.
I think, I know me and a couple of my buddies kind of made it granted, I thought, I don't want to dismiss Kentucky at all. It's going to be a great rivalry game no matter what. Even with their, they haven't looked the best as of lately, but they're still 10-5. They're still a good team. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that, they're going to pack the place, I'm assuming. It's Kentucky. There's no, other than the students, obviously there's probably freshmen are going to struggle to get back in time just because I'm sure like dorms don't open till 17th or 18th or something, like 5 days before. But I'm sure the energy, I'll still be there. I'll be there front and center. So
that's all we need. Joey Boots, that's all we need.
On the ground, baby.
Yeah, that's the best. That's a sucky part I didn't even consider when I saw this game being in early January. Chris Lofton's jersey is going to be retired that day. It'll be good energy, like you said, regardless. But students are an important aspect of that energy and using it all the time. So that is disappointing. I don't want to leave this game yet, though. Landon did. I'm going to read off some Landon stats. He's traveling there in Sedona, or I guess they're heading back. Average margin of victory the past 2 games is 38.5 points. I think Vanderbilt's that game could easily keep that average pretty high. He also had Vescovi as 9 of 19 from 3 in SEC play. Yeah, we talked about this early on in the season. Like his misses are frustrating, but he's a shooter, and sometimes when you're hitting, you still got to shoot when you're a shooter. And it looks obviously much better on paper what he's doing now, but in that stretch, he still had some big threes. Now the big threes are coupled with consistency, so that's nice. But yeah, you got to let shooters shoot.
Yeah, it's always been a thing with him that we kind of sometimes he'll get, a little too going, and then if they're not dropping, he doesn't seem to care. But it's good to see him be a little bit more selective and have a little bit more knowledge behind each shot because it seems to be playing out a little better, and he's at least aware of when he's hot and when he's not, and just the better shots to shoot anyway. Obviously, that's always a factor whether you're red hot or not. If it's a bad shot.
Right.
You got to look for another opportunity.
Right. Another big game I too want to mention, I guess that was more than a big game, big start to SEC play. This guy Ziegler, though, the double-double. Did he have a double-double? I thought he did. Who am I looking at right now? Okay.
No.
What?
Was it Adu? No, who had a double-double?
Wow. What was I looking at? Nick
Oh,
Kumar had a double-double.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Was it the other night? I don't remember. Anyways, whatever. Double-double from Kumar. Still so impressive. Talk about a guy that seems to be selecting shots better. Kumar. Just feels. I think a big part of Tennessee's game is seeing that first entry pass down low, and I think that's huge. And he's not always the guy taking the shot on the end of that. And I think that's big because he attracts a lot of attention down there, frees some other guys up, but oftentimes that ball is getting stuck. I think that's a big part of his game, is being patient, and he's been selective, and it's paid off in a huge way with the way percentage he's shooting, but the amount of points too. So I'm definitely up on Kumal's game right now. He's played a lot better, and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Last stat. This might be my favorite one. Of Tennessee's 15 games, they haven't let 9 opponents score more than 50 points against them. I know that's a interesting sample size. I mean, of course, you have team. You played in Battle Atlantis. You played in. You went and played out in Arizona. You did play Colorado, who scored one of those teams that scored 50. But that's still a crazy stat through 15 games. So that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Sample size maybe not. We've got really the grade of the schedule. That's something I looked at before the schedule. But you're right, Battle for Atlantis. I mean, getting that win against Kansas and stuff, and seeing a team early like that's going to probably be in a good chance for, talking about Sweet 16, Final Four runs, all that stuff. It's good to get some exposure. Obviously, that Texas matchup in Thompson's going to be one of the bigger factors, as well as trying to see if that defense can really hold up. But yeah, so far the defense has been. I mean, that's a crazy stat. What was it? You said 9 out of 15.
9 of 15 opponents have been held below 50.
Yeah, that's. I don't care who you're playing for the most part, as long as you've got some decent teams on your schedule. 9 out of 15's. That's got to be a good percentage.
Yeah, I mean, this is
70%.
Yeah, I'm just. I mean, just to. I mean, there have been Florida Gulf Coast and Tennessee Techs on that schedule, but there's Maryland, who was 13th at the time, Arizona, which Maryland wasn't shooting well going into that game, but USC, Kansas, and Butler too, and then Colorado obviously as well with that loss, who I think is making our loss look worse. But hey, if that's where it comes, hopefully that's where it comes. I saw people during that happening calling, making fun of Rick's record in March, and I was like, well, I mean, maybe this is the year then. If you're losing to Colorado in November, maybe you shake those ones out from March.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna have those heartbreaking losses, let's make them not heartbreaking when they're in November and December, and you can look past them and stuff. I would love to be able to feel fairly confident going into the tournament this year. So, if the defense holds up, I will feel more than. And together, obviously, there's gonna be some teams where even that defense alone won't do it. You're gonna have to have a night like you did last night and have some really good scores, but.
Yeah, I think Tennessee was shooting like 63% from the field at one, like late. No, maybe not late in the second half, but well into the second half, shooting 63%. I mean, if you do that, honestly, your defense could just be okay, you'll win most ball games. Obviously, that's you're not going to see that probably ever again. But thankfully, you do have the good defense. I want to look ahead just excuse me a little bit at Vanderbilt. That's Tuesday night, 9 p.m. tip-off in Thompson-Boling Arena. Not a good Vanderbilt team. This is a team that did beat South Carolina. Excuse me. That game went into overtime. They did hang around with Missouri at Missouri too. Which, dude, that place has been rocking this season. I don't know the name of their arena. Other Columbia has been. It's been a fun. It's one of those arenas where people talk about like when Tennessee's good at football, it's fun to watch because in Neyland. When Missouri's good at basketball, there's fun games in that arena. Like that arena goes. Yeah. And I don't know how big it is. I don't think it's very big, but it looks loud, looks wild. So it's one of those teams that when they're good at basketball, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, that and Auburn. Auburn's always been obviously, I mean, that atmosphere, but last night was a good game against Arkansas. So Auburn's gonna be a fun team to watch. They definitely can get a crowd pumping too. So SEC play is gonna be a lot of fun for sure.
SEC play is going to be interesting, and we'll talk. I guess we can talk. I'm going out of order of the thing I sent, but we can go ahead and kind of talk about how crazy college basketball has been. I mean, it's been weird. I don't know. It's hard for me to gauge like how weird is weird when you look at this. But even the SEC, you knew it was going to be a little bit deeper this year, maybe by like 2 teams. You knew Alabama was gonna play for the be involved in the SEC. But then there's just also some weird games that happen. You obviously have LSU beating Kentucky Tuesday night, turn around and getting beat by 13 to A&M. You have Georgia who knocked off. Oh, I'm forgetting now. Who'd they knock off this week? Crap. I have to look at their scores. Then turn around and lose at Florida. They beat Auburn. That's who they beat. Yep. And so just like these weird games that are happening, and right now it looks like, just based on looks, because you can't base it on record, it looks like it's going to be Tennessee and Alabama that play for it. But I mentioned if Arkansas gets healthy, they struggled at Auburn, like you mentioned it, and it looked like fun. But yeah, it's every bit of a pretty insane college basketball year, not just in the SEC, but you also have kind of throughout the entire NCAA, which, I mean, it makes it hard to bet on, but
yeah,
that's my only problem with it.
Speaking of, I'm back into retirement. It's
you stayed out of retirement pretty long though, so that's good. That's a nice run.
Yeah, I mean, I if you don't know, I fluctuate back and forth. I'm like Tom Brady. I go in and out, and I just gauge the feelings. I'll say, I'm hot as you could be right now. I'm seeing the board like crazy. I physically can't bet, but I got my buddies asking me. I went 3-0 today. Like, just shelled out a couple locks. I didn't even look at the board. It's just, but Pennsylvania, dude, they got online casino for FanDuel up here. So like the moment I landed on the plane and like Christmas break, we're trying to hit the tables and man, when you mix that with watching sports and you just think, whatever, you can lose that money real quick. So
what are you playing? Blackjack?
Yeah, blackjack and Texas Hold'em. There's this online Texas Hold'em, and like the thing with casinos is you can go on great runs. You're gonna lose that money. No one's ever walked away and been like, boom, $500. I'm just like, it doesn't work like that. You just get cocky and go back and lose it all. And you're going to do that. That's the worst part, is you actively know that you're going to lose the money. So, yeah, you just got to be. But we'll see. Once I get back to Tennessee and I know I can't access casino, we might be back on the ground running. College basketball, I think I've only been on like maybe 2 or 3 games. So, but hopefully we can open that sample size a little bit.
Yeah, I hope it becomes a little bit more clear, because I looked at Saturday's lines and just nothing was like I want to get comfortably, because I did pretty good during bowl season, and nothing was. I'm comfortable enough to just start losing again. So I'll probably wait until like mid-January at least and get into conference play, get a better view of teams and go. But yeah, right now it's not my. Right now I'm not betting on anything.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not. I mean, obviously. If you ask me out of the top 25, the best team that I think in terms of chances, my opinion is probably Houston, just the way that they look as of like this moment.
Okay.
And I know Purdue's pretty good. They got Zach Edey, he's so big, like you don't realize until you watch that game. And they almost lost to Ohio State this weekend. So
yeah,
or whenever that was, a couple days ago. But there's not. Maybe it's just because I've been sucked into football. It's football. Realm's gone a little bit late, and so I just haven't been totally engulfed. But there's no like clear just top 5 dominant teams that are just taking over the top 25 that we're scared of each year. Like, it seems like there's some room to jump around and stuff. So I mean, I hope that makes for a pretty cool, latter half of the season, and come March time, mix things up, and hopefully Tennessee can obviously be right in that mix. And if they play like they are right now, then I would hope that stays the same. But yeah,
I don't disagree. There's not like a clear-cut best team. I do think it's interesting that, and I know it's a Tennessee fan of me saying this, so don't get me wrong, but when you look at Tennessee's defense, there is 0 to 9. They're the best defense in the country. I mean, all of the Ken Palm and all that stuff tells you that's the truth. But I do know that's a little bit of bias speaking. But I do think there's like 10 teams that look like they're probably the best 10 teams in the country, and then everyone else behind them. And then in that top 10, I agree with you that in that like 10. Maybe you can stretch that down to 13. You're sitting there wondering who's the best team of this mix. I certainly agree with that.
Maybe it's just because the Blue Bloods aren't sticking as heavy as they are this year. Just the whole presence just seems a little bit more liquid than it's possibly. Look at Kansas is up there, but you don't got your Gonzaga. You don't have your Dukes swarming the top 5. So I think it's a little bit more open to slide into.
Yeah, and I do think maybe that too is a healthy product, because I do think there's a lot of really good teams. It's not like, all right, because this year in college football, I think it was a lot of Georgia And then who are the three teams behind them? Because there's not three just standout great teams.
Right.
Tennessee had a great season, but their defense you knew was a liability. Sure enough, get knocked out by 63. Alabama seemed to have the inability to finish games. Both in the games they won, they barely scraped by. And then in the ones they lost, 4 points, I think, was the difference.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like that Ohio State. I mean, credit to I don't think we talked about this. Ohio State, I think that's the best game. They're going to end up playing the best game against Georgia than anyone in the country.
Oh, for sure. That was their best performance. I mean, I didn't expect that at all. I was hoping to be a game, but if you would have told me Ohio State kept it that close and it came down to a field goal, I was very impressed by C.J. Stroud. I was very impressed by the receiving core. Their defense looked probably what it surprised me the most was how rattled Georgia seemed to be, especially in the first half, and Stetson Bennett. But yeah, I mean,
and Ryan Day ended up. He's now not calling plays anymore. I thought that was the game to say, yeah, Ryan Day should be calling plays, and the one a lot of people talking about Ryan Day maybe not being head coach material, and I don't disagree that he's maybe not at the best, or not Ohio State head coach material, because maybe he's not as good as Ohio State should be right now. But I thought that game at least made you want to wait around to find out. And turns over play calling duties, I thought was an interesting move after that one.
Yeah, I know. I spent quite a bit of time in Columbus, and my girlfriend's family's from there, and so over that break, I got quite a. A lot of Ohio State people aren't big fans of Ryan Day, which surprised me. I mean, and I think I think it's just after the Michigan game a lot. That's where I heard a lot of the sample size. So
for sure, yeah, that'll impact it.
Yeah. I think we've been there before when you just have an awful game and you're just fire everybody, start the team over. But I'm curious to see, how many of those were back to like, okay, well, maybe we just need to run it a little bit different after that game. Because again, that Michigan game looked horrendous, just god awful, especially for not how good I think Michigan is at all. But yeah, I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see in the offseason how everything plays out, and
Yeah, I also Michigan. Speaking of that, and apparently it was Harbaugh wanting to go to Carolina. They said we're going to move on, and now he's apparently interviewing for the Broncos. I wonder if this is just agent trying to get bigger money, more money, or if this is truly Jim Harbaugh. I can't imagine. Why would you leave right now, unless you just legitimately hate the coaching the college game? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know the stat for how many coaches have left to go coach in the NFL directly after a college football playoff appearance. But
probably zero in college football playoff.
I mean, yeah, because technically it's only been, but even a team of
Did Nick Saban? Did he go? I think he went to. Didn't he go to the NFL right after winning at LSU? Didn't they win in 2004? Was that 2003? Let's see. 2003. Okay, and then he coached, I guess, in 2004.
Yeah, and I get the dynamic, I guess, but it's I don't know. It's I mean, there's probably a lot of factors, and I mean, I know he's stated before.
I would get I would get making the jump if you were, but where you're at right now, it just seems interesting to me. And then it's his alma mater. It's not maybe somewhere like it's not his. It's just an interesting position. It seems like everything's working out, and in my opinion, it looks like he's trying to get out of there, and it's very weird.
Yeah,
but we can talk college football playoffs since we're here now. We got a question about this too. I legitimately want TCU to win. I like Max Duggan. I don't know how.
I think people, the non-college football fan that's like a half college football fan that kind of has been paying attention in the playoffs obviously knows what's going on and thinks that Georgia's that tight of a game against a team that people were saying Ohio State shouldn't even be in the college football playoff. It seems like a trap game. Like it's just a weird spot because we watched Georgia all year. We know how good they can be, and we know that also at times they've shown a little bit of weakness in some spots, and people have capitalized on that. But I mean, the line's at 12.5. I'm with you. I would love to see TCU make a tight game. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in the third quarter and it's like 42-12, and I'm like, yeah, it's just no shot. And I don't think it'll be like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get that out of hand. I don't, because TCU does. I mean, I think they lead the country. I believe I read that stat correctly. They lead the country in most explosive plays, which I think is like 50-plus yards, 40-plus yards. They lead the country in that. And I think that's the key. I don't think TCU is going to be able to break down this Georgia defense and methodically move the ball. So I think they will have to rely on what they've relied on all year, and that's big explosive plays. And against Georgia, your explosive plays probably need to score as well. Don't give that defense room. That was the question, though, is everybody is saying Georgia will win. Tell me why Georgia does not win. And that's it. Obviously, this TCU defense has to play well. But we saw – it'll be interesting to see what we saw against Tennessee. If they do get a lead, they probably won't just run out in front of you. So you may stay in the game, but it's going to be not only connecting on explosive plays, but also scoring on those explosive plays. It's on Max Duggan. Like, that's if TCU ends up winning this, it's going to be interesting to kind of look back and be like, yeah, maybe he should have been in the Heisman conversation, because that's the only way I think TCU wins. Like, he should have won the Heisman, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if Georgia slips, if Georgia doesn't win this game, I think it's got to be on Georgia's behalf. It's got to be a slip up. And we saw against Ohio State that they're capable of coming back even when another team starts hot, and they can just hunker down and, dig right through. But again, if there was a game that TCU needed to have to prove to me that they could do it, they did it against Michigan, and they looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I wasn't that hot on Michigan, but they're still a great team. But if there was a game that made me think TCU had enough offensive power and drive and excitement, and just they look good when they do it. I mean, they play with confidence. There were so many times during that Michigan game that you were just like, it's going to take like a crazy play, and that they produced a crazy play, and it was great. So I would love to see that energy kept for the actual championship game tomorrow night, but it's going to need to take Georgia to be a little bit off their game, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it probably is that. I mean, that's just the case of how good Georgia is. It's going to take a slip up. It's going to take it. Not mention Max Duggan. I guess it's unfair to say it's all on him, because a lot of even having the ability to do that is on not just the offensive line, but the running backs as well, and pass protection. We saw an offensive line that performed well personally get abused by that front seven, and so that's a tall task. But yeah, as much as I hate Stetson Bennett, he's just and it's all rivalry hate. I have no real problems with him. I don't really see how you necessarily could. I hate him as a rival player. I don't know if you saw what Eric Ainge said about him.
Yeah, no.
I was like, what are we doing calling him like a punk and stuff? I don't. But yeah, I hate him.
Especially when you're older than the guy. I can say one thing. I don't know. It's a little different story. I mean, hell.
He's almost older than me.
He's about to say he's like 28 years old, so he's pushing it. But yeah, it's mainly rivalry stuff. Obviously, if it was Alabama, and that was in the college football playoff, and we beat them, obviously we'd probably have a different view, because we'd be like, well, we beat them already, so it doesn't care as much. Like, I'm not going to shit on him because we took care of business. The team did it for us. But yeah. Are you one of those? It's a pretty – people on Twitter take it pretty seriously. Are you like cheering for the SEC? Like, are you anti people that cheer strictly for conference, or are you like –
I find it annoying. Even like LSU, I don't necessarily hate LSU. So like even when they 2019, it was almost like that SEC rivalry. I was like, I'm kind of rooting against them, but I wouldn't be. So I'm definitely cheering against Florida. I like to see TCU win it, but I also don't care if the SEC, like, that's good, I think, for the league if the SEC wins. So it doesn't bother me if Georgia loses. I'm in a win-win scenario for sure. But yeah, I don't understand I root for the SEC. I don't get that. That's your conference. You should hate them.
Yeah, no, I think we'll probably see it eye to eye. I get to the extent of, like, if you're playing a Big Ten team and it's like, if you're a true fan of a SEC team and you play a team like that in your conference, you can't just allegiantly be like, yeah, but it's the SEC. Like, it's the Big 12 in this game. It's not like it's like some huge, like, no one's going to leave this game going, is the Big 12 better than the SEC? Like, that's not
Right. That's a good point.
stating, like, there's no downfall of the SEC on the lines here. So it's like, if you like Georgia just for the sense that you like them better than TCU, like, that's fine. But yeah, sheer just blind conference allegiance doesn't really make much sense in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily it doesn't really give Tennessee any more merit. Like, Tennessee went out, won 11 games, beat the ACC champ. It doesn't matter for Tennessee, so I don't really care. Whatever. It doesn't bother me. You brought up a good point, though, with the Big Ten. I don't really hate the Big Ten. Whatever. Don't care. I hate Ohio State. I cannot stand Ohio State. They're obnoxious. It's kind of the media's fault because I hate I'll try to say this as politely as I possibly can, the media dick riders about Ohio State. That pisses me off. Yeah. So that's not even necessarily Ohio State's fault. So in this semifinal, I was in a real conundrum about who to root for. Because I definitely wouldn't mind seeing Georgia lose, but I would hate to find out Ohio State won in that scenario. So it's better now. It's better the way it is.
Yeah. And I mean, you could squeeze in the excuse that, like, yes, we could play the game of, okay, if Georgia wins this year, maybe next season, if Tennessee's got this game and this matchup and Tennessee, has 2 losses that are like whoever knows what scope plays out. And you're like, yeah, well, Georgia was a loss to the 2-time defending national champions. That's like such a far cry that it's like trying to root for that 280 days in advance or whatever, like, is entirely makes no sense.
No. I like I said, I get wanting the SEC to do well, but I don't get the fan club SEC, but like the Rob Lowe SECers.
Yeah, and if it was like Missouri, like, that'd be kind of funny just because, like, if they had some crazy run, you're like, yeah, go for conference, or like just cheering for the underdog. But it's like we've known Georgia had a really good chance of being in the situation all year. So,
and Georgia too, like I mentioned, like with LSU and others, like even A&M, they went on a run. Or I don't hate Auburn I don't like Auburn, but with it being Georgia and Alabama, and I mean even Florida's played in SEC championship since then that have been. I don't root for them at all. I don't root for Alabama ever. I don't care. I'm more mad when they win. But just because
especially Alabama and Florida. If you root for Alabama or Florida as a Tennessee fan, based off conference, you don't know anything about the football team and just go
burn
ahead
the orange.
Yeah, just stop. Like, that's disrespectful. Because like Georgia, you can I'll listen to you just because they haven't been like the biggest rivals and it's been more of a new success thing. But come on, you can't.
It's not fun.
In any sense,
it's not fun. We skipped transfer portal news, so we'll talk about that. Tennessee had some big visitors in town committing tomorrow, Monday. That's defensive lineman from Arizona State, Omar Norman Lott. Wide receiver Dante Thornton from Oregon. And then, I'm trying to get these pulled up. And John Campbell, he's offensive tackle from Miami. I don't know which – I think from all fronts it seems like things are going well. I haven't seen too much. Those official visits actually just ended like right before we got on. I know there's an interview out there, I think, from VolQuest with Dante Thornton from someone. So, like, we'll find out more about that. I think all these would be huge pieces. So if you get them – here's the interesting part, and Landon probably knows more about this than both of us, so I'll have to ask him on Thursday. I don't know how the hell scholarships shake out. There's a lot of people on campus.
Yeah, that is something that's definitely changing, especially as portal just gets even more and more crazy. And I don't know whether you're more selective and whether – I don't know how that plays out just as as time goes on.
Yeah, I imagine the amount of people asked to leave or find maybe better places might grow.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Which is fine if you have the same. I mean, if you're doing it right, obviously the reason that happens, trickles down, and it's because you picked up guys that you think might be able to benefit the team. Like, so, I mean, I don't think it's going to be damning or anything. I mean, I hope it evens out, but yeah, that'll be interesting to see tomorrow. And obviously, as the last game of the season's tomorrow and Tennessee's game's already over, we'll get into more and more random, recruit news and off-season news and stuff. So we'll see how that all plays out. But
I think
pick up some more tomorrow.
Yeah, and I don't think, at least for the guys coming for Dante Thornton and John Campbell, I don't think it's about NIL either. So I think that gives me a little more hope. And I don't necessarily think they're looking for the highest bidder. They're probably looking for the best fit and where they can play. And I think that probably plays into Tennessee's hands. Because, I mean, NIL is not a problem in Miami or Oregon. It's not going to be a problem here. And so I think that's – obviously, NIL is big, but I think trying and getting people to – that wants the immediate success, I think that was harder until this year. So I think that's good for Tennessee. Like I said, I don't know if that means that they land them or whatever, but I think that it's better for Tennessee in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's obviously got really good NIL deals, going on. I know some other colleges probably struggle way more than we do, and we're in a good spot. We've got different fundings or whatever collectives and really good opportunities.
We have enough.
Yeah, really good opportunities and such. But there's not really a more opportune time outside of, you're right, talking about like an NIL standpoint and stuff. It's just naturally about where Tennessee stands on a college football landscape. And probably one, and this is definitely an Orange Goggles move, but probably one of the more promising uptick, and like not just like this was the best season that they're going to have in a couple of years from now. Like no one's really expecting us to go down at all next year. Whereas there's a lot of teams that you might ask about, they're leaving for the draft and stuff. And there's the teams like Georgia that will still like do what they did this season, where they had so many players leave, somehow be just as good, if not better. And but both of those combined, I think, put us in a really good spot to land those recruits for both NIL and people from the transfer portal overall, but NIL opportunities plus the uptick and trend of the team make for a pretty solid,
Things are a lot easier when you're winning. And I do want to mention NIL because it's obviously a big deal. It not only keeps Tennessee in a lot of these races, but also helps them win some. But the guys on campus are getting them too. The Vol Club has signed 5 Vols to new NIL deals recently. That's Joe Milton, Jalen Wright, Squirrel Wright, Ramel Keaton, and Aaron Beasley. I don't think you were on either. We were talking about Squirrel White, that cryptic tweet, which I don't even know was about, or not Squirrel White, Jalen Wright. That cryptic tweet that may or may not have meant anything. A lot of people thought maybe it was NIL deal stuff, and I don't discredit these guys for trying to get paid. So if that was what it was about, good for him. Like, go get your money. Don't care.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. It's so easy from a fan's perspective to talk about commitment to a team and things like that. But you got to remember, these are kids that are looking to advance to the next stage in their life and become professionals. And some of them may not even have that opportunity, obviously. So
make money when you can.
It's really easy to, speak from this situation. But when money gets into effect, I guarantee you have the people talking on Twitter and all this stuff. Like if you threw the same money that opportunities and stuff, like for these kids, you'd be in a whole different situation. So, I mean, who knows what happens behind the curtain, and easier said than done for sure.
Yeah. Good for those guys, though. That's exciting. NIL is huge, and Tennessee seems to be doing a good job taking advantage of it. And I know a lot of people question that early on. But I think since it's been available for almost 2 years, I think Tennessee has definitely kind of turned the tide on any questions about it. A lot of collectives killing it, and Tennessee seems to be using it to their advantage. And I think 2024, we talked about this with Eric Kane probably about 2 months ago now, about how it's really tough because the recruiting cycle starts so early that a lot of the success that you had this season, normally in college football past, without early signing day and different recruiting windows, you used to see that success in the recruiting class immediately after. Well, now you kind of see it fall in that junior class. So 2024 should be with everything going the way it is, assuming it continues on that path, should be where Tennessee sees most of their success, fruits of their labor from this past season. So I think we're all enjoying where Tennessee's at, and they obviously got to improve in some areas, but I don't see why this trend shouldn't keep going. We loved it. That Orange Bowl almost looked like a preview for next year, and it gave me too much hope.
And I know you guys already covered it and everything, but I mean, a game like that, you can't walk away and be nothing but happy just because you look at you're missing, obviously, your starting quarterback that was a star of college football all year long. Joe Milton steps up and just produces pretty damn well. I mean, you're missing Hyatt, you're missing Tillman, You're missing Banks, you're missing some of the key factors of your team. And it's like, all right, next guy up. And they looked good against a Clemson team that's highly doubted and was a good team this season. Like, you got to feel good. 2023, obviously, we've already looked from last season and stuff. And you're right with this more like of a 2-year junior year gap. It's like, last season we were looking forward to 2023. Well, how much better have we felt this past season with how we feel about how we're playing and recruiting and transfer portal and all this stuff versus last season? And you would hope that translates from 2023 to 2024. So 2023 obviously is going to hopefully be a fantastic year, and we have the building blocks already in place and on a really good path. But 2024 hopefully can be special, and everyone stays locked in and things go according to plan.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of sucks. You do got to. I don't know what you have to win this year to stay on path. Like, I don't know what it is to keep from hitting the top of that mountain, because Tennessee's certainly, and it's going to be harder competing for the East with Georgia. I hate Shane Beamer, but at least South Carolina beat us this year, made the East harder. Kentucky, I just feel like they are going to be consistent. You should never lose. We talk about on the show. You should never lose Kentucky. Doesn't matter, but
right,
you definitely got to find a way to keep the trend going up and don't fall off a cliff. I don't have anything else for college football or college basketball. You got anything else before we get into? I think we have 2 more questions.
Not that I know of. We'll see how the offseason goes and how tomorrow goes. So,
yeah, the offseason might be longer now that we're good and we expect to be good. But we do have baseball and basketball to fill us out until then. And I think –
and all the teams are playing fantastic. So it's we've been Tennessee fans before, where it's one season favors the other in terms of sports, but we'll roll into a already going basketball season that's top 10, and baseball's coming up where we expect to have another chance to get to Omaha. So we don't have a lame off season. We're not going to be sitting here waiting until that first day of the fall camp and everything. We'll be busy.
You mentioned everybody looking good. Did you see the Tennessee Athletics tweet with the 6 active head coaches have led their programs? That's insane.
Talk about everything school. That is the definition of everything school. 6 head coaches, active head coaches, all having received a number 1 rank at some point in their respective sport.
It's got to be.
I can't
be a
think of
huge stat, and you just never know with all these, especially West Coast schools have all the Olympic programs. Florida has all the extra sport, a ton of sports Tennessee doesn't have. Several SEC schools have programs like gymnastics and other things Tennessee doesn't compete in. Tennessee doesn't offer, compared to some of the bigger schools, don't offer as many sports.
We're talking about, if there was some sort of algorithm for like the most, I don't want to say like most important, obviously. People got most viewed and like most, in terms of baseball, basketball, football, those are and baseball's even off the backside. Basketball and football, in terms of just your common sports fan, are one of the more followed in terms of all sports. So
those are your primary.
Those are those 2.
Yeah, which is like it almost it's hard to brag about that, but let's be honest, that is
we haven't gotten
the 3 you want to be in
quite a bit. We'll take what we can get to brag about. We will run with it.
Oh, 100%. Let's see. Oh, I asked that question. I thought I was going to save it, but I asked that question. Let me see what you think. We asked Landon this on Thursday. What's more likely in the next 3 years? Bobby Petrino is a Power 5 head coach, or Jimbo Fisher gets fired?
Where did Petrino just get? Was that Texas?
He got offense coordinator at A&M. Yeah, that's where he's at now.
Man, it's got to be. I would love if it was the Fisher option. So, I guess that just depends how next season plays out. We'll play them next season, so that'll be fun. But
I almost forgot about that game.
Yeah,
in Knoxville, which is they came to Knoxville in 2020, in that shortened season, but who cares? Yeah, we'll do it again. They were playing for the college football playoff when they came to Knoxville. They had a chance to go to the playoff. They were, I can't remember their record now, but they were in talks.
Yeah, they were probably like 4-1, but that's fine. Man, I don't want to think about that season. That was
That was a fun one for sure. All right, that was it for questions. That's all I had. Most important of the week. Do you have?
I do.
I've got one, I believe. Actually, I've got two because this happened today. I saw it later. Did you see the Miami Dolphins coach wearing a Tennessee Orange Bowl national, or maybe not a coach? He might have been an employee, but he had a headset on. I just automatically assume coach.
Some sort of staff.
Yeah, he had a Tennessee Orange Bowl championship hat on.
Interesting.
So he must have been a stadium staffer, and they gave him to them or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because I know that Josh Dobbs gave one of the Titans assistant coaches a Tennessee visor because the guy was wearing I think it was a Vandy visor or maybe it was a something like that, and he gifted him. But yeah, that wouldn't have been the same thing. But hey, we'll take the representation. It's probably a sick hat. We need some retro Orange Bowl gear. Drop that
for sure.
Ball shop.
Don't do it. I'll spend too much money. Please don't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, don't do that. Sorry, just wait. I'll just go with the obvious. Obviously, in the past couple days, even the whole DeMar Hamlin situation's been a big talk. So good to see him. He was active on Twitter today, dude. He was just rolling the tweet off. So I mean,
good. I mean, he must be in good spirits.
Respect. He's just rolling the Twitter. I think it'd be funny if he just got in there and started trolling people, but each their own. I feel like that's the first thing I would do.
Tweets back at Skip Bayless.
Right. Oh my God. Can you imagine? He just has like a whole revenge tour and just something like every bad take just totally exposes him. But yeah, it's good to see him showing positive signs and today talking with people when his parents were there. They were watching football all day. So crazy to see that recovery from what was that just not even a week ago. So good for him, and we'll see how that I heard people are saying he's eager to want to get back on the field at some point later. And it's like, I don't know how that injury. I'm not sure. I'm not a medical person, so I don't know. It's like one of those. You probably should. If it was just a freak accident and he can recover and I don't even know his status, but good to see him in good spirits and everything, and making a recovery like that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the Bills took the opening kickoff to the house.
Yeah,
it's pretty. I mean, sports can be poetry. Like that's poetry.
I'll jump back to that for my fail, but yeah, you can.
Okay. I also have the Chiefs playing Ring Around the Rosie. I don't know what that was.
Oh,
I kind of like it. Bust out the creativity. They did score on the play, but it was called back for was it man downfield or holding?
I believe it was holding because Kadarius I think was getting a touchdown, and then it was not a necessary holding at all. He was already coasting in the end zone. I hate those, but yeah, I love when
just have fun. It's football.
Give me last week of NFL like teams that are already locked in. Give me those. I love those plays. Just bring those out like week 9, like total important game. Just bring them out. It worked.
Yeah, that's the most important part is that it worked. That's really the only part of the story.
I was so confused for like half a second. I looked up at my TV though, and they were just like dancing around in circles. I was like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, I thought maybe they were doing their own like annexation of Puerto Rico. You might be. Did you see Little Giants? Is that too old?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can't like recall, but
yeah, it is an old movie, but I thought they were just getting creative with it, and like you said, love to see it. Have a little fun.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was like some sort of weird celebration from like I thought that was from what just the way I looked up at it, and I didn't realize they were like I was on my phone, I guess, so I didn't realize they were in like about to snap the ball. I just thought that might have been like the weirdest defensive like celebration I've ever seen. Like
yeah, I didn't know
like the 30-yard line, not even in the end zone. So I was like, whatever, because the other team was just staying. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, that was rather interesting. Do you have another more important?
Yeah, I have Velus Jones going on the end around for the touchdown against the who they play today?
They played
Vikings.
Yes, Vikings.
Yeah, and I liked everybody tweeting saying he didn't know they were tanking. They did end up with the first round pick or first number 1 draft pick.
Yeah,
Bears. So congratulations to the Bears.
Yeah, no, that ties into my fail, and I don't know how Velus stayed in today. That was pretty crazy. He had like 4 toe taps in a row that were literally like touching white almost. But probably the fail of the year. I mean, it's that the Texans were locked. I mean, like you had 2 wins the whole season. I understand that you're in a situation. I just don't. And obviously, as a team, you're never gonna like play to lose. Like that's just as the fan base is always one thing, and you got the fans cheering for like one thing, but it's just like I can't tell if the culture is that bad.
It may be part of that.
Like if you like just didn't know anything about football and you looked at that score and like how the plays went down and like just the scoring drives, you'd be like, oh, this is like a cool game. Like, no, these teams just both suck so bad that they can't stop each other from scoring and like defensive touchdowns and all this stuff. So I don't know. It was hilarious to watch the fans, Texans fans, just like oh, cool, we got 3 wins this season and now we don't have the first pick anymore. So, but yeah, good for the Bears to be able to do that. I guess hang your hat on.
Just let the Bears botch the first pick. You can get this. It's all good. Don't worry.
What are they going to do with that? I mean, are they going to trade? Or are they just going to?
I don't know who you take, honestly. Especially, I don't.
I mean, because you could jump ahead. You're not looking for a quarterback, obviously, but you.
Which probably is a good way to have a first round pick. You can spend it like everybody loves quarterback. I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I don't know
what the Bears do. The Bears will F it up.
I figured they maybe if there was. Maybe they could even trade back to like 2 teams back and then because, I mean, they can just steal whatever player, but I guess I don't know the order now, but the 2 quarterbacks are probably going to get taken for the teams that need a quarterback. I don't know. We got a while to figure that out, so.
Yeah. I've got the NCAA for my fail. Such a good weekend of football, and I'm honestly just not looking forward to watching it because I know that means I'm going to be up late, and that sucks on Monday night. Just do it on Saturday. Tell the NFL to F off. If the NFL really wants to have games on Saturday, 1 and 4:45, and you kick off at 8:30.
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, it's just Monday nights don't feel like no one can be. And if we were but I feel like if I had if Tennessee's playing national championship on Monday night, like I just would that's just annoying. Like it's like because then the whole city has to shift. Like you think the city of Knoxville and like the bars and stuff are just gonna like not be open for a Tennessee game? No, it's stupid. Yeah. And it's like okay, well the next day's Tuesday. You're gonna cancel every class. People are gonna be off work. People are gonna like call out like whatever. But like, I just don't. I think it'd be cool to do like a Saturday game. It makes sense.
You play all season.
You play all season on Saturdays. Why switch to Monday?
I don't. And they do it for the national championship. It's very annoying, and I get that one's a little bit different because you have the Final Four. Those games are on Saturday. And you don't necessarily want those games to be on Thursday. So I do kind of at least understand this one more. I don't understand the football national championship. And I hate it with every fiber of my being.
Yeah. Basketball just seems different. I don't
know. Basketball's definitely in a different boat because you get 2 games on Saturday out of it. And I wouldn't think going Saturday and Saturday would make sense for basketball. So that one I give a little bit of a pass to. Like even like Friday, Sunday would be better for that scenario.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no rigid schedule for college basketball in terms of like a day. Like you don't. I mean, there's games on Saturdays. Obviously, there's always good games, but you're not used to only watching on Saturday. It just throws me off to be like, oh, it's Sunday, your college football championship tomorrow, which is kind of cool, I guess. Like it's nice to add like a third day of sports, but I don't know.
I'd rather enjoy it on Saturday. I'd rather enjoy it then. And people don't complain. It's been like this forever. I agree. That doesn't make it right, and so I'm going to complain about it.
I'm right here with you entirely.
Don't tell me not to complain because I'll do it harder. I'll complain even more.
Yep. I've got one, and I won't get too much into it. It's a DeMar Hamlin thing again. When they returned the kick, and that's what I was saying earlier, he tweeted OMFG, and for someone that practically died on a football field and came back to life twice, the amount of people that like went at him, and like I won't speak on like religious things, but there were people that were like ashamed that he would like take the Lord's name in vain, I guess, just by like everyone was like, dude, it could have really been like, oh my freaking goodness. Like no, like one of the tweets was like blown away that as much as God blessed him, he would tweet something as vulgar as this. And I was like, yeah, I forgot how vulgar four letters can be that are very vague to interpret. But I just thought it was like so like the common man Skip Bayless to like not even after this guy had like the scariest moment of his life and for his teammates, like attack him in his comments for something like that. It's like, dude, in a hospital bed, regardless of like your opinion, it was just such like a damper the mood. There's so many of them.
Hold off on that criticism.
That's what just made me point it out. Is I was just like, oh, good for him. Like I just saw like everyone like celebrities were retweeting it because it was just again that was like a storybook moment. It's like the Bills did this whole thing before the game, and there's all these pictures and number 3s everywhere, and then it's like, boom, kickoff return, and everyone's excited. And then his Twitter mentions or replies.
Yeah, that's insane that he's getting ratioed over that. Like that's just insane. This world will never cease to amaze me.
Yeah,
truly. That's all I've got, guys. It's been a good one. Thanks for tuning in here, whether you're on your drive to work on Monday or tonight on Sunday. The Packers and Detroit Lions have kicked off in the most meaningless Sunday night 8:30 primetime game I think I can remember. Why'd they do that? Just play those games at the same time.
Yeah.
If we're gonna watch meaningless, let me watch Washington beat Dallas. Did they end up winning?
Yeah, they
Let me,
they ended up winning.
Let me watch them in primetime.
Or whatever. Aren't the Packers playing for the playoff spot though?
I thought the Packers were already in. Are they playing? I thought with that Seahawks win, I thought they were in.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know if it was earlier today or later today that they had I don't know if it was after something today or like they were expecting it and then something weird happened today. But I feel like they're gonna take care of business anyway. But
yeah,
free football, so I won't complain too much. But yeah, I wish it was maybe a little bit more of a cool game. But playoffs should be exciting. I don't know.
It doesn't show that the Seahawks clinched yet. Okay, it does look like they're out. Are they out with the Seahawks win too? That's not right. So maybe they have to. So maybe they do have to win now. I thought they were already in. Yeah, they must have to win.
I could be wrong though.
I thought people were tweeting that Seattle clinched, and that's why I'm confused.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be. This is not the game I'd want to watch if it didn't have any playoff implications in or out. So, but 6-3 right now at the end of the first. For anybody that's curious, so ravishing television.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. See
3 field goals so far. So
how they would make it real quick.
For everyone that won their football fantasy playoffs like us, congrats.
Yeah, for real. If not,
try again
I'm
next
better
year.
than you.
We're gonna all auto draft next year, like Caleb, and win the league.
Okay, yeah, the Packers have to win. That's
okay.
It. So I guess
that
the
makes
Seahawks,
it at least a little bit more.
So the Seahawks aren't automatically in. That tweet was wrong. Whoever tweeted that out,
probably Richard West.
Probably he got me again. Got.
Not again.
All right, guys. We will see you on Thursday, and then look out Saturday. I want to give one more shout out to Underdog Collectibles, Maui Huna signing autographs down there on right next to campus, right before tip off against Kentucky. So make sure you get those. Go to their Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you got. Check them out. We appreciate them. Always bet on the underdog. That's it. That's all I got. Appreciate you all. Do it, Landon. We're bringing the boat in. We're out.